Welcome back to another Ticks and Trades daily recap. Today is Tuesday, April 15, 2025. I'm Sam Morton at your service. Let's walk through the action that we saw in the SPY today and the levels that we mapped out in advance, how things played out both by the rules and in my personal trades, and of course, we'll check in on the metrics and where we stand heading into the last half of April. Let's get into it. Compared with most of the last couple weeks, today seemed almost normal. Price moved a little. They hit some levels, and we did get some good trades. But what are they doing now in the big picture? There's a trend line. You can see this down-sloping trend line that we've had on the board since last Wednesday. This is the area that the bulls have been trying to get above, and so far they can't do it. In the post-market, in fact, price pulled away. They're farther down now. And there could be some bearish things developing where price could pull back some more from there. So kind of a timing thing, but also there can be a case made that they aren't finished with the downside. Remember that big zone way below current price that we talked about last week? The top of the zone was like around 472. There is still good long-term support down there. What if price still needs to get down there and satisfy some things for the bears before we get back into a more bullish market? I'm not saying that it will happen. For all we know, the bulls might have what it takes to rally from where they are now, but I'm just positing some guesses about why the bulls seem to be kind of weak under this little trend line that they've been fighting. Every time they get price above that trend line, which is the lower of two trend lines we've been looking at, it just doesn't stick and they fall back down. It's just an observation and something to be aware of. Looking at an hourly chart could help put this into perspective. All this back and forth around this trend line is normal, but the bulls have had a few chances to get some hourly closes above it and make it stick, but it just hasn't happened yet, at least not several hourly closes. And now, as I mentioned in the post-market, they fell down. They were at 532 or so earlier. We'll see what the futures do in the overnight session. I'm starting to wonder if we might see some more pullback from here. We'll know soon enough. Here are the levels and the game plan that was available to subscribers this morning. There was still a chance of higher than average volatility, so the required warnings were included in the notes. You can read through these if you want. I mentioned that it would not be surprising if more than one level would be hit before proper support and or resistance was established. That is, if big swings were still on the menu. So yes, there was some of that price hitting more than one level before finding the support needed to bounce. And where were the trades? So after 15 minutes of letting things settle in, price was between this upper level at 544.06 and the trend line, and they ended up coming down first and hitting the trend line. Well, they never hit 544.06, that's obvious. They came down to the trend line, didn't find support until they hit the level at 539.12, spiked through it. We talked about this happening. So treating this whole thing as a process meant that if you bought E-mini contracts the moment the SPY hit the trend line, you would have bought the same number at the level at 539.12. That's exactly what I did, and we will watch a recording of that trade later. So pulling a base hit of 4 or more points was entirely feasible. 2 official base hits on the long side here, and this means you're not going to trade on the long side again if you want to play by the rules. There were more reactions at these levels, and you'll see that happen often. But I like to trade a level just once per side. It just works for me. The next opportunity for a trade was when they got under, right here, they got under the lower level, and there was enough time when they came back up into it here around 1:41 p.m. And that was an opportunity for a trade on the short side when price hit 539.12 here. And that pullback would have given you your third base hit. And you could have made the case that since price did not hit the trend line from the other side, you could have traded over here. But I'm not going to count that reaction. While it worked and would have given you a base hit over here, this whole zone here was the trade, in my opinion. But it is cool to see how price reacted at that trend line and at that level pretty much all day, both of which were identified and put on the chart before the market opened this morning. Here is a quick video of the one trade that I took this morning, pretty much the same as the playing by the rules approach. After price came back down into the trend line here, I bought 2 E-mini contracts about 19 minutes after 10 a.m., quickly bought 2 more as price fell through 539.12. A little over 4 points on 4 contracts total. And you could look at it as 8 points on 2 contracts since 2 were traded at each level, which is right out of the rule book. This is the only trade I took. I'm probably going to have to pause this because it happens pretty fast. When they came down into this level, as soon as order is entered, I'll pause it and we'll talk through it. So there you go. I had a limit order. So I'm long 2, and you can see this point, there's a 9-point target, but I end up getting 2 more contracts. So I'm long 4 here, and that's when they found a bottom. It all happened pretty fast, and I ended up being a little bit over 4 points. And that was the only trade that I took, pulling almost $1,000 in a few minutes. all before the first hour of the open session works for me. I'd rather get other things done for the rest of the day than to stare at the screens for a few more hours. You'll find that your best trades often happen within the first couple hours of the regular session anyway. Maybe I'll start calling this the 2-hour trade day approach or something. So this goes through until I think about noon or so, at which point I stopped the recording, so nothing after that. This first tracking log is called the PBR log, which is short for playing by the rules. If you did everything by the book, you would have ended the day with 3 base hits for a total of 12 ES points. So depending on number of E-mini contracts traded, here are your profit potentials. The second log is the Sam's Trades log, and that had 4.87 points on 4 contracts, $974 before commissions, decent week so far. And if you haven't already noticed, the rate of return on the Sam's Trades log here so far this year is over 75%. That is assuming a $50,000 starting balance at the beginning of 2025, trading 2 contracts exactly the way I did, which probably isn't likely what you would have done since I do bend the rules sometimes, or maybe more precisely, I sometimes find other opportunities based on what I see the market telling me in real time. So how about 66% return for the playing by the rules approach? Still not too shabby. And by the way, you should ask yourself, at what point would you consider trading 3 full ES contracts? With this amount of margin, 83,000 or so, you could start considering trading 3 contracts, 3 full ES contracts, maybe at good levels. That's how you scale up over time. Of course, you could certainly afford to trade more than 3 contracts with $83,000. $83,000 divided by $15,000, so let's call it $15,000 margin requirement per contract. That's 5.5. But my formula for determining purchasing power is a little bit more conservative than that. I don't want to use all my margin on every single trade. It's just too aggressive. But I digress. The point is, still very good rate of return, just trading 2 contracts, and that includes not trading anything last week. Just staying out of trouble by avoiding trades when the market was acting crazy. In any case, that is a wrap for today. Thanks again for watching and for supporting the channel. If you find value in these recaps and want to keep sharpening your edge, hit that subscribe button, give this video a like. I appreciate it. If today's levels and game plan helped you grab a win or 2 or 3, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment below and let me know how your session went. Thanks again. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day.